So the first thing we want to do with our chocolate bar design is set our theme. So right now I'm doing kind of a high-end chocolate bar. I would say the price point would be anywhere from $6 to $10. It's an artisan chocolate bar, and it's going to be single origin, so there's going to come from the cocoa beans are going to come from one place in the world. So this is kind of the example I came up with. We're going to do the next one in the series in this class. This one is a South American single origin, and the one that we're going to do in the class is going to be African single origin. So we're going to kind of take a different approach, but it's going to have a very similar look and feel. And I love chocolate bars that have a really simple pattern. I know the Mast bar collection has beautiful geometric patterns and shapes, and it's simplicity of the shapes and the design that makes the chocolate bar so appealing because it's so simple and clean. And that's kind of the look I want to go for, but I also want to go for a little bit more of a traditional look and a high-end look, especially if we're going to be charging $6 to $10 for a single chocolate bar. We want to make it look like it's a $6 to $10 chocolate bar. So that's the whole goal of this chocolate bar design. So in keeping with the same theme with this next version, this is the Illustrator file where I have the finished chocolate bar design, and I have this kind of repeated pattern. This is kind of the original kind of pattern shape. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so you can see this. That I developed for the South African one or the South American one, and I was inspired by South American kind of more triangular kind of patterns. So I'm going to do the same thing with the African. The first thing we're going to do is kind of develop a pattern that we can use on the background. So I'm going to go ahead and click over. I already have kind of a document set up. I believe this is 6 inches. Let me go ahead and check the dimensions. I think I actually measured the chocolate bar that I bought to kind of get the right measurement. But if you are working on an actual chocolate bar design, the printer who will be printing the wrapper for you will provide a template that will have that sizing information. But just in general, I kind of have some general settings here. Of course, this could vary a little bit for the actual chocolate bar design. And of course, I have it in inches. You might want to do centimeters. So this is kind of our basic kind of, I guess, dimension of the chocolate bar we're going to design. So let's get started with the pattern. So if you're not sure how to do repetitive patterns in Illustrator, you're in luck. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And there's a couple things I want to set up for my pattern. I want to be able to have a grid. I want to do this very geometric in style. So what helps you with that is if you go to View, let's go ahead and show our grid. So just go View, Show Grid. And I'm also going to go back into View and I could do Snap to Grid. And so that's going to help me be able to, I'll go ahead and show you what Snap to Grid does. So it kind of just snaps to those points in the grid. Kind of helps you make more structured geometric patterns. So now what pattern do I do? Okay, so I had this one for South America. What do I do for Africa? Well, I need to go to Google because I have to get some inspiration and some patterns so I can kind of study just for maybe 10 to 20 minutes some different patterns. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and pop into Google, and I'm just going to type in African patterns, kind of get some little bit of inspiration. I want to have a very simple repetitive pattern. So when I go here, I'm kind of looking for overall themes, kind of an overall style that I think is kind of reflected over and over. And one thing I'm already noticing is triangles, and I'm noticing lines. So the triangles kind of going in opposite angles. So this is kind of a really good example of what I'm kind of thinking. So I'm going back and I'm looking at kind of these chunky lines. So that would be a little more complicated for the little subtle geometric background. So I want to find a way to, how do I simplify all these complex designs into one little simple line shape? So I'm just getting a little inspiration. I think this is really neat, really complicated for what we need, but I think it's super cool. So I'm going to just spend some time kind of sourcing some sort of inspiration. And I'm continually seeing diamonds. I'm seeing triangles. So similar to our let me go ahead and pull up my South American kind of, I was kind of also inspired by something a little bit similar. But I want to do kind of a more modern take on it. So let me go back to the drawing board and play around now that I've spent some time kind of looking at this. I spent another 20 minutes before this video kind of looking at these patterns. So let's go back to our blank template And let's kind of think about emulating those triangles. So I'm just going to click over here. I'm going to see if I can't just draw a simple triangle. And I'm going to go to my stroke panel. Go ahead and drag that out. And I'm going to do a rounded cap because I like the way rounded caps look. So if I take off rounded caps, you see it's kind of got this awkward cutoff there. But if I do rounded caps, you'll notice it looks really nice and smooth. So I'm going to continue perhaps to maybe do another triangle inside this triangle. And make sure my rounded cap is on. And I thought maybe reversing this. So I'm going to copy and paste. That's another theme I was noticing. And I have these two lines selected. I'm going to go to Object, Transform. I'm going to reflect those. So Transform, Reflect. And I can always do a preview. I'm going to do vertical. So just preview. There we go. I'm just going to line this up right above because I also noticed with the African pattern, it kind of went down in vertical lines like the different types of patterns. So this is kind of just a basic shape. I want to try to get the stroke right and the size right. So this is already our size of our chocolate bar, so we can go ahead and kind of figure out what size we think would be good. I mean, this would be a really big chunky pattern, or I could make it really small and have it be more detailed. I'm thinking I want a little bit of a bigger pattern so it's not overwhelming, it's not too detailed. And I want to think about my stroke here. So if I want to have a really nice thin stroke, I can do that, or a nice thick chunky stroke. And we can always adjust this after we do the pattern to see if we like the stroke. We can always go back and edit this pattern. So now I want to start to repeat this pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and select this. I'm going to go to Object, down to Pattern, and I'm going to Make.